the man, the adult that I was looking up to quote unquote save me was retiring and his hope had gone, you know? And it was almost like I couldn't have hope anymore and that it died that day. And, you know, my auntie would sit next to me and said, this isn't the end of Lucy Edwards. I did not believe her. I just didn't. But I just remember being like, what is all this for? Like, what am I doing to save this one bit of light perception? Like, you know, what has happened to me?
Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of What It's Really Like with me, your host, Molly Burke. I am so excited. I feel like I say that every single week because I'm genuinely so excited to have these conversations every week because every week we have such a phenomenal guest. And this week is no different. We have Miss Lucy Edwards, and I feel like if you know who I am, you know who she is. It's very unlikely you don't, mostly because half the internet thinks we're the same person and is confused why our dog changes color from blonde to black and where the British accent keeps going. Welcome to the podcast, Lucy.
Hello, honey. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, we start this the same way every single week. For those who don't know, who is Lucy Edwards?
Oh, I love that question. Who am I? I am a dog mom. My guide dog is called Miss Molly. I am a wife to my gorgeous husband, Ollie, of 13 years. I am a content creator, BBC journalist, and I love to listen to true crime in my spare time and crochet.
Speaking my language. I can't crochet, but I'm all into the true crime.
Love.
Weird, like being blind and it's like you're in the dark and theoretically it's like scary to hear noises and then we listen to podcasts that scare us into thinking every noise is somebody breaking in to kidnap us.
I know. Is it like a self-defense mechanism though? Are we like, this is what it could be like?
No, literally.
So
that's what I say. It kind of feels like I'm preparing.
Yeah, honestly. But yeah.
Like I'm like, if I know all the things that could happen, I can mentally prep.
My husband's like, what? Why would you? What? And then he's falling asleep to these things, and he's like, you don't even hear half the podcast because you're like doing these little snorts and snoring, and I'm sitting next to you like, what? Are you? Oh yeah, it's yeah.
I can fall asleep to true crime, and my partner's like, this is so bizarre. Like you're falling asleep listening to like horror stories.
What?
I'm glad it's not just me.
Yeah,
I feel like it is a woman thing. Like way more women are into true crime than men.
Mm-hmm.
And way more men commit true crime. So look at that.
There we go. I wonder why. We're very similar in so many ways.
I'm so glad that you, the audience, enjoy that my podcast is more conversational than interview because I can tell you this week's episode will be a lot of back and forth ping pong conversation more than just interview because I always joke that Lucy and I are the same person in parallel universes.
Literally.
Copy paste.
Yeah.
You know, it's so bizarre.
We had this, didn't we, as we just before we were recording, like Mol was saying like, oh, my fiance's Brendan and my brother is Brady and my best friend is Brady. And then yeah, I was like, Mol, I think you attract these people into your life. Like your second name's Lucy, my guide dog's Molly, and my husband's Ollie. Like I think we're destined to be friends.
It's so bizarre. Like I'm Molly Jane Lucy Burke. You're Lucy Edwards with your guide dog Molly. People already were getting us confused, and then you just had to go get a guide dog named Molly.
I know, literally why. Like, if they could have named her something possibly different. Although I think it's iconic because I love you.
No, it's hilarious. It's so funny. And do you know it's so funny? I, for a lot of my life growing up, dyed my hair red.
Oh, did you?
My mom's a redhead, and I was always jealous that I wasn't a redhead. So for a long time, I dyed my hair red. And in my 20s, like I feel like I was pretty known on the internet for doing hair transformations. That was like a big thing that I would do. And I would do all these different colors. And I specifically was like, I can't do red because people already confuse me and Lucy so much. If I then go back to my red roots, people will be so confused and get us like mixed up even more.
Agreed.
As much as I would love to get to do my red again, I think I have to say goodbye to it.
Oh, bless you. But I think you could do it as an era and then we just do it as a moment. I think that would be cute. But
go as twins for Halloween.
And we can just confuse people even more. Maybe you need a wig.
You get a dark wig, I dye my hair red. We'll really screw the internet over.
Yeah, literally.
And they'll be like, wait, did they switch dogs? What happened? So
cute.
Another thing that we're both known for is being women who went blind in our teens and love makeup.
Yeah.
And the true OGs would know that probably about 10 years ago on this very YouTube channel, if you're listening to this podcast on my YouTube channel, if not, it is available on Spotify. But on my YouTube channel, we did from England to Canada, before I even moved to the US 9 years ago, we did a gift exchange where we mailed each other boxes. And we did like a little video opening each other's packages. So we go way back.
Way back. It was so cute. I remember you sent me that hand sanitizer from Bath and Body Works.
Yeah.
And I didn't have Bath and Body Works in the UK, so I was like, she is so cool.
So funny, full circle with the hand sanitizer earlier today.
God, no. I didn't even connect that. That's so funny.
Literally.
Molly was so cute. She was like, so I don't know whether they do big ones anymore. So I was like, oh, I'm so excited. I've never had a Touchland hand sanitizer, Mol. And she was like, Lou, I think this is the body spray. But she said it in such a lovely way. And I knew that in her heart, she knew that she was letting me down slowly.
So for a couple days now, Lucy has been spraying body spray on her hands from Touchland, thinking she was spraying hand sanitizer on her hands, which is actually so funny to think about all the times, because as blind girls, we touch everything. So I'm always hand sanitizing. To think of all the times you thought, oh, got clean hands now. And actually you just continually sprayed perfume on your hands
on my hands.
Is kind of incredible.
Literally, babe.
So all of our similarities aside, I feel like this conversation is really going to be like what it's really like to go blind as a teenager, which is both of our lived experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured it would be fun to go back to the beginning for you, because my audience knows my story. We're all bored of it at this point. Diagnosed at 4, I'm blind at 14, blah, blah, blah. We get it. Tell us about Lucy's vision loss journey.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, so I have a really rare genetic condition. It's called incontinentia pigmenti. I promise I won't get you to spell it. But basically, it runs down the female line of my genetics. My late grandma wasn't blind, and neither is my lovely mommy. So it's a bit of a fluke that it happened in me. If you look at the Wikipedia page, it's very much like, it could be a skin rash, you could have epilepsy, these different things, quite severe, different connotations of it, or may cause vision loss. And I'm definitely in the camp that it's may cause vision loss. So at age 4, well, around age 4, a little bit before actually, but we won't get into the weeds. I was diagnosed with my condition because of some bumps on the backs of my leg. It looked a lot like chicken pox, and there were just blisters. And my mom and dad were really, really worried about me. And they kept putting like different steroid creams on, took me to the general practitioner, which is like the family doctor, I think, in the USA. And eventually they diagnosed it, and to be honest, it went away on its own. And then I went for a routine eye check at age 8, and the ophthalmologist basically just said to my mom, Mrs. Edwards, I think you need to rush your daughter to the eye hospital because there's something wrong with her eyes. The back of her eye looks really poorly. And my mom, to be honest, was floored and shocked. Like, she didn't know anything about incontinentia pigmenti, and also because it was only really rising to prominence in 1997, which is only 2 years after I was born, and it was also coined Bloch-Sulzberger syndrome before it was incontinentia pigmenti. So, it was very much coming to prominence. My grandma didn't really know much about it, even though they carried the gene, and it was very daunting because at that time, I was only in my local hospital. I'm from Birmingham, which is about an hour and a half train ride away from London in the UK. So, I was at my local hospital, and not a lot of consultants knew loads about my eye condition. And I would just keep going and going. And to cut quite a long story short, I had a retinal detachment, which is the back of my eye at age 11. That's why that right eye veers. And I think at the time, because I was so young, I didn't really have the words to articulate what was really happening to me. And and my brain kind of just filled it in, so I didn't really understand. And I remember then I was then transferred to London because, all the consultants were a bit really confused, to be honest. I think because it's so rare and there's only so many cases of it in the world, I think they were a bit perplexed as what to do with me. So they didn't really do anything in the end, and they monitored my left eye for a bit. And the same condition kind of took my left eye at 17 with a retinal detachment.
What does a retinal detachment look like through your eyes? Because I remember growing up, they would always warn me of like, okay, these are the warning signs that your retina's detached. Because I have a retinal disease, so my retina is very weak. And so they would always warn me of what it might be like. And then they said, like, if you think you have a retinal detachment, lay down flat, don't move, call an ambulance, and like get right in there. What did a retinal detachment look and feel like for you? And what was like the steps that followed?
So interesting. I think it's interesting that you had that kind of guidance. I was very much told that the rhetoric was very much like the medical model of disability, in that, you know, I was being monitored, they would fix me. And through no fault of the consultants, really, I think they were just wanting to help me. So in my head, like, there was going to be no way that this was ever going to happen. There was going to be no retinal detachment because, to be honest, no one could tell me whether there was or there wasn't. So it was always that question mark because it was so rare. But I think when it did happen in the right eye, it was very much this camera flashing, thousands and thousands of little black dots that then, because the back of my eye is bleeding, how I always describe it is the retina is the wallpaper of your eye, and that wallpaper paste I have way too much, and there's loads and loads of bleeding that happens in the back of my eye, and then that bleeding reabsorbs into the jelly of my eye, and then my wallpaper hangs on by a thread until it pops off. So that was happening continuously, mainly around my period times where I would see a lot of bleeding in my cycle, and it would be all over my vision. Sometimes it would obstruct my vision. Sometimes I would get really upset and, not be able to see around it. But I think mainly the time where it really hit me was when I was 17. And obviously, I couldn't really fake the fact that it was really affecting me, like physically, like needing mobility aid. It was the time where, you know, I had to just admit that, like, all of this was kind of coming crashing down on me. And I had to have that silicone oil bubble in my eye. I had to sit like flat after the operation, and it was just scary. It was just, yeah.
Growing up, did you mentioned that there was very medical model around you. Did you have any access growing up to orientation and mobility, braille training, like anything like that? And if not, when in your vision loss journey did you start using a mobility aid and getting those like alternative options for learning how to do life?
Yeah, I started it at around 11 years old. So I remember my mom being really worried about me because I'd just lost the remaining vision in my right eye. And I had this amazing mobility instructor called Terry. Um, and she used to come to my mum and dad and be like, "You can't wrap her up in cotton wool, Mr. and Mrs. Edwards." And I'm like, "Well, how can I see the remote?" She's like, "You could do it, just memorize it." And she would come to my house and just buy it. She was like, "We can get the slow cooker from school, and she helped me like create spag bol and different things like that." So she really was the person who I went on the school bus with. But to be honest, because she was like my teacher, I was a bit like, "Oh, Terry, this is so uncool." So she always used to take me out of class, and I never did gym or sports. She kind of just, and I didn't mind that because I was like stealthy, like in the class doing all those things for an hour, and then I'd come back and then it was like it never happened. So it was that pocket of time where I was learning, like, to cross the road with my ears and things. But it was almost like I wasn't admitting it to myself at that point that it was happening. So yeah, from 11, and then it kind of just continued, but in different ways. So like as I became like 14, 15, I was like, oh, Terry, can we like drop it to once a month? And then when my vision got really bad when I was 17, she came like twice a week to school. Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those things where you're like, sure, I'll do it, but I don't need it.
Yeah.
Because that was what it was like for me. Because as soon as I was diagnosed with RP, obviously with RP, they know you're going to go blind. They don't know when, they don't know how fast, but they know you will lose significant vision. That's not a question. And so they immediately started me at 5 years old on Braille and O&M. And it was one of those things where I could read print. I could navigate without a cane. Like, I didn't understand why I was doing this stuff, and I hated doing it, and I was, like, so resistant. It's so funny to me now about, like, how resistant I was to learning Braille, because adult Molly is, like, the biggest advocate of Braille, and I think Braille is the best thing in the world, and every visually impaired person needs to know Braille, because I use it every single day. Like, to this day, it's a tool that I use, whether it's Braille labeling things around my house or making sure I'm hitting the right elevator button or walking into the right bathroom in public. I'm always using my Braille. So it's really funny to me that I'm like, wow, 5, 6, 7-year-old Molly who would sit on her hands to not learn Braille would be shocked at the 32-year-old Molly telling parents who DM her, no, you need to get your child learning Braille. It's so important. Don't listen to anybody telling you not to.
Literally snap. Or like us being on red carpets with our sparkly canes. Like I remember dying inside when I had my cane out for the first time, or I was known as the girl with the dog with my gorgeous first guide dog Olga. I just remember like being like, oh my God, I just want to dig to Australia right now.
Yes, it was like the most shameful, embarrassing thing. And it was so shameful and embarrassing to be visibly, obviously disabled because for us growing up, you're a year younger than me. We both went blind in our teens, so just a couple years apart. So we grew up at the same time period with the same access to media, both mainstream and social media. And there was no disability representation that was sexy, beautiful, desirable. The only disability representation that existed was embarrassing and shameful and awkward and gross and dependent and a mockery.
Yeah.
And even that, there was so little of it. Like, it was impossible to see yourself. And so then when you do, it's not like you look at it and you're like, that's not me.
Yeah.
That's not who I want to be. That's not, because it's this characterization of blindness. It's this like stereotype that non-disabled people created because it makes good TV.
Yeah.
It makes a good character to watch when Daredevil can see when it rains and like all of these tropes and all face feeling, and that we always wear dark sunglasses so that everybody who watches the show can visibly see the person's disabled. Like they just created all of these narratives that got copy, paste, repeat every single time blindness or disability was represented. And when you watch that, and it's not you, you're like, oh, if that's what blindness is, like, I reject that.
Yeah, I don't want to be
I don't want to be
I'm scared of it. I agree with you. And the only time when I felt me was when I logged onto the internet. And to be honest, our channels grew very similarly back then. I remember us being like a couple of thousand subscribers each and being so excited that I found you, that you were over at the other side of the planet, but I wasn't alone. And I could find people online that actually were cool and were blind and were my age, and because all of it was so overwhelming and I felt so sick to death that this had just happened to me and I didn't know what to do.
You started your channel like much closer to your vision loss than I did, because I lost my vision in 2008 at 14, and then I didn't start my channel until I was 20 in 2014. So I like kind of had like 8 years between when I went blind and when I actually started my channel. But I feel like you started your channel like pretty soon after vision loss, right?
I did, honey. So yeah, again in 2014, I just turned 18, yeah. So literally just after my sight loss, I remember saying to my husband, but boyfriend at the time, like, let's go get like a background. And it was like a spotty piece of like thin wrapping paper from a local Clinton's card shop that was very dotty, which now that we know what cameras do, it was probably a bad choice, but it was
vibrating behind.
literally like pastel colours. And I just remember being so excited. I was so ill back then though, Mol. Like I had the only happy moments when I turned on the camera. And yeah, I definitely wasn't the version of me I am today. But I think that Lucy that started that dream was someone who still had a shred of hope that she could hold on to the version of me that I felt like I was losing. And as I say, like when I found people like yourself that were doing it, I suddenly was like, I actually can still be me and still have some semblance of like myself left.
I always say when you don't see it, it's hard to believe you could be it,
Yeah.
right? Like when you don't see any version of the life that you want represented, it's hard to think that it's even possible for it to exist for you. Because when we've just like, there's no version of it that you can look to, how do you even seek like inspiration or hope or feel motivated that building that version of a life is possible for you? Which is one of so many reasons why representation matters so much, is literally just to show people that the life you want is possible because somebody like you is living it, is doing it. And back then, like in 2014, 2015, those early days of social media, there was like a small handful of us. There was like 5 or 6 of us who were disabled making content globally.
Yeah.
And none of us were doing it successfully. Like none of us were making a career out of it. None of us had like large followings and brand deals. It was just like 5 or 6 of us around the world making content related to life as a disabled person, believing it was possible. And it was so fun.
Yeah.
When we would find each other and be like, oh my God, somebody like me, like somebody who's also trying to make this happen.
Yeah.
Who believes that like disabled people can have a space on the internet, and that there is a market for our voices and our stories to be heard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ugh, our community has come so far.
I
But it's like
know.
so fun to be here having this conversation with somebody who was one of the very few that was like back then doing it with me and has actually built a successful career, 10 years, 12 years later.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, the way we got there eventually, I think was a bit different because obviously like I went into traditional broadcast kind of first before my channel really properly took off, because it took off in the pandemic in the end with the advent of shorts and like short form video. But yeah, I remember those days and I think, wow, like what would that little Lucy or little Molly say to us now? Like I think back to that version of me quite a lot, and I feel sorry for her, but also I'm so proud that, I don't know, I'm able to sit in rooms like this and just be me again. I thank that little version of me because I love being blind now and I didn't then,
I feel like if I think about what would 2014 Molly think of me today, she would think I was so fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like, she would be like, oh my God, I'm obsessed with you. Like, she would love me. And I love that for me. I'm like, I'm glad that I feel like I do make little Molly proud.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I feel like 20-year-old Molly who started this channel, like 2008 Molly at 14 who went blind, 5-year-old Molly who told her parents she was going to move to Los Angeles and work in entertainment. I make every version of me proud today. And I think that is probably the best feeling to have, is knowing that like 2008 Molly who hated herself and wanted to end her life and was deeply depressed and couldn't stand being blind, today is so confident as a blind woman, owns her blindness with pride, loves her life, and is doing something to hopefully help instill that same sense of empowerment into the lives of other disabled people. Like that's the goal of the work we do, right? Is to make sure that other Mollys and Lucys do have somebody to look to inspire them, to
Yeah.
uplift them, to make them feel less alone and make them feel like it's possible to be confident, happy, successful, and proud of being a disabled person.
Slay queen. I agree. Honestly, like, I think of that so many times when I think of all of the things both of us have done. Like, it blows my mind. And I don't know, just feeling like we came from like little cities or little towns within our own universe. And I think the best thing about being blind, it's just having the confidence to have the confidence in our own conviction into. And what I mean by that is, I think what it's allowed me to do is be the version of myself that I never could have imagined if I didn't lose my sight. And I think I've just harnessed things in a way that I probably wouldn't have done. And if you look at both of our careers, like the fact that we love the word blind and, having it plastered all over our channels, I think, I don't know, it's made everyone. I don't know where I'm going with this, Mol. Edit me. I think, yeah, um, ultimately, I think that I am so, so happy that the channel Yesterday's Wishes existed, because, there was a point where I did wish for yesterday, and it was that kind of defiant moment where I was like, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to live for tomorrow, live for today, and actually like not grieve what once was, not really think about, the version of me that once was, and, not think about having a cure or like wanting to be different. I've got to think about what actually still remains of me now. And I think, that's our success, right?
There's so much grief in vision loss, like literally watching a piece of yourself die and having to grieve the person you were in the life you thought you were going to have. And that grief can go on for a really long time. And I think in many ways, it never fully ends. Grief will always arise in different moments in my life. I know that I will always have days or moments when I am like, screw it, I hate being blind, actually. This moment sucks. I don't want to be blind right now. But the older I get and the more along my journey I get, the less and less and less and less those happen. And the more moments of, oh my God, I love being blind. Like, look at all the beauty my blindness has brought me, the passion, the purpose, the direction and drive that I probably wouldn't have had. And the fact that younger me grew up dreaming of working in entertainment because I wanted to escape being who I was. I loved acting because it meant I got to be somebody else. And I liked playing other people, so I didn't have to be me. And now I work in entertainment as myself, as a person who I love and I'm so proud to be. And I don't want to play other characters. I don't want to be other people. And I get to work in the industry I always wanted to, but in a way that has so much more meaning and purpose than simply acting to play another character and escape my reality could have ever done for me. And it's such an incredible feeling when you get to that place in your life. And it's what I want so badly for other people who are in the grief stage of whatever their disability might be, when they're stuck in that cycle of the grief and the wishing for yesterday.
Yeah.
And the wanting to be their old self. I know for me, I kept myself stuck in that for a really long time by not just being willing to surrender to my circumstance and just being like, okay, there's no cure. There's no changing this.
Yeah.
I can continue to sit here hating myself and wishing for a thing that might never happen. Or I can just throw all of that energy into accepting myself and building a beautiful life and trying to find the positives. And it took intention. Like, it's not like I woke up one day positive. It took intention to say, I don't want to think negatively all the time. Like, I don't want to hate my existence. I want to have a moment where, sure, I see the negative, and then I go, where can I find the positive? The negative's easy to see. how can I find the positive though? And like really intentionally flip that. And when you do that over and over and over again enough times, all of a sudden it's not effort to find the positive. You start to just like recognize the beauty in your life.
Yeah.
And for people like us, like we can't change our reality. We can't change our circumstance, but we can change how we view it and we can change how we react to it.
Yeah, I think there's power in that, isn't there? And I always hear you talk about therapy. I'm a massive advocate of it too. And what really, really changed my life was acceptance and commitment therapy, because I was doing quite a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy first and it didn't necessarily work for me. Like, obviously each to their own. But for me, with acceptance and commitment therapy, or known as ACT, I remember sitting there and thinking, wow, like I can love and hate being blind, and they can be two thoughts and they can exist side by side. And my therapist taught me about thinking of a bus. And, sometimes at the front of the bus driver can be that little gremlin that's like, I hate being blind. And sometimes he can take the wheel, but sometimes you can push him to the back, and a little angel that says, I love being blind, can push him off the steering wheel. And I think I love that because it gives like just as much thought and gravitas to each thought. And it's really allowed me to kind of, fight with those emotions and think thoughts as thoughts. And as you say, it's taken us such a long time to get where we are. And, even on my blindness anniversaries, I just had one in March, just gone. And I was standing with you actually in Washington on the 13-year anniversary of me losing my sight. And usually that day, I do acupuncture or hypnotherapy or just something to self-care, exactly. Or, I'm crying probably in a dark room. But that day I was standing and I was talking about accessibility and I was surrounded by all of you lot and feeling so empowered. So it really does go in waves. Yeah.
When you lost your vision at 17, what was that like? Because for me, my vision loss was progressive. And so even like the year that I went blind and lost the majority of my vision, that vision loss itself was over the course of like 6 to 8 months. So it went really quickly for RP, but it wasn't like I woke up one day and I couldn't see. It was slowly each day I was losing more and more. What was it like for you?
So I think for me, it was over a longer period of time. So at age 11, I remember feeling quite, scared that every single month or every single 3 weeks, I would get these like floaters in my eye, and there would be flashes and then they would go away. And then suddenly my mom would be standing in my room with the eye chart, like, Lucy, can you read the top of this eye chart? And be really happy when I could tell her, because I couldn't articulate what I could see back then. And at 17, it really was that terror that I was getting more and more of these floaters, what I was calling floaters. And it was just pretty much every month, every 3 months, me and Mom would go from Birmingham to London on that train route. And that would be our reality, that it would just be like clinging onto this last little bit of sight. Mom kind of in my room with her eye chart. And I just remember back then that those pockets were me just feeling grumpy, and bless her, like she knew that I was going to be grumpy on those days, because those were the only days that I would think about it, because I had enough just under adult vision until I was like 16 and a half, really, until I could kind of just not use a cane, only on my mobility lessons. So it was kind of, trying to navigate that. And it was probably more sudden, just because I did develop a cataract at 16, where the front of my eye became very misty and cloudy, which is the lens of the eye. And to be honest, I thought I was going to go blind from that in my left eye before I would lose my retina, to retinal detachment. But they took that out, and then it made the back of my eye just way more like volatile for the retinal detachment to happen, because obviously all of this bleeding just kept happening and happening. So I remember I didn't know what was gonna go to I didn't know what was going to happen. But I remember, you know, I was at A-level history, I was like 17 at the time, and I was gonna go to Poland for a school trip, and I wasn't going on the plane. I was, going into surgery, and it was all just like, to be honest, Mol, I've blocked out quite a lot of it. I don't know if you have, like,
Yeah.
around that time, just because it felt so traumatic,
Sometimes my parents will like tell a story from that time in my life, and I literally have no memory of it. And I have such a good memory, but it's like my brain definitely blocked out a lot of things to protect myself.
Mhm.
And equally, there's so many stories that I've said so many times over where I'm completely emotionally detached from it.
Same.
It's almost like I'm telling somebody else's stories. And even though I know that it was me and it happened to me, it's like I'm just repeating words. Like it doesn't mean anything to me anymore. So I can say these like deeply traumatic emotional things seemingly with no care.
Mhm.
But it's because it's just like I actually don't feel like it happened to me. Even though I know it did, I don't feel like it did because I've emotionally detached so much from it.
Yeah.
And then other things that I've like emotionally just like completely forgotten about for my own well-being. So I completely
Yeah.
understand that.
Snap. Yeah.
When did like for you the emotions of it hit? Because I can remember for me going to that appointment in October of 2007. And I knew that I had lost a lot of vision over the previous few months.
Mm.
And I went to the appointment. They confirmed that I had lost a lot of vision, and they couldn't say for sure if it was going to stabilize or not. Like they don't know. They can't predict that, but they knew that there was like a lot of vision loss. And I remember getting in the car with my mom, and I literally said to her, like, I don't know how to feel. I feel numb.
Yeah.
Like that was this moment where despite the fact that my whole life I could tell you I have retinitis pigmentosa, I'll go blind one day. I could tell you what vision loss for people with RP looked like. I could, I had a cane and I learned Braille and I did adaptive sports and I went to camps for the blind. Like I was so in the blind world. But it wasn't until that moment that I think like emotionally I understood it. Not mentally, I emotionally was hit by it. And I didn't go to school for the rest of the day. And then the next day, I was like noticeably different. Like I was very like empty. That's all the only way I can describe it. Like the life had been sucked out of me. I was not the bubbly, happy Molly that we all know today, who I used to be. I was just kind of this like hollow person. And my friends were like, what's wrong? Like,
Yeah.
and basically from then on, I slowly slipped into depression. And yeah, it was just kind of all I could recognize was the things that I would never do,
Mm.
all the can't, won't, shouldn't, all the limitations I now faced. And it was weird because it was like I would think about things that I would never have even wanted to do, but now because I couldn't,
Yeah.
I was upset about it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, sighted Molly would have never been upset that she couldn't be a surgeon.
Mm.
She was never going to be a surgeon.
Yeah.
But it's like being told at 14 that you'll never be able to. It's like, well, maybe one day I would have wanted to. And it's like, that was the only world I could live in, was like all the ways my life now sucked.
Mm. No, absolutely. I am so with you. I think being like astronaut Lucy or pilot Lucy was the only thing that I wanted to be, or the version of me that could click that mouse just one last time, or see my mom's face. I think it was so tangible and true that the heart ached so badly. Yeah, I do remember those moments. I think I really do think back to, my consultant coming in and like the sight-saving surgery that never worked. Like he came in his jeans on a Saturday trying to save my retina. And he had like 2 or 3 of his fingers and he was like, "Can you see them?" And I couldn't. he'd cut away like half of my retina to try and save the other half. But to be honest, there's no current technology, even now, that will stop that bleeding at the back of my retina. So my wallpaper will always fall off. So to answer your question with the emotional side, I think I was devastated. I remember my auntie. It was my auntie who was my dad's sister, and my mom with me. They're my two moms, and yeah, my dad was back at home with my sis because she was still at school. And I remember, my consultant that had been with me for years and years and years was retiring on the same week that I was losing my vision, called Professor Moore. And he said, Lucy, we always wished it wouldn't come to this. And I remember, I always hoped it wouldn't come to this. And I remember feeling that was such like a gut punch. Not that he meant it to be, but it was just so tangible that like the man, the adult that I was looking up to quote unquote save me, was retiring and his hope had gone, and it was almost like I couldn't have hope anymore and that it died that day. And, my auntie would sit next to me and said, "This isn't the end of Lucy Edwards." I did not believe her. I just didn't. And I got home and bless them, they tried to buy me like strawberry shampoo that like smelt gorgeous. But because of my operation as well, I couldn't wash my hair. I was like sitting front on like for 3 months basically to get this silicone bubble to like stick, because I had a bit of light perception back then that they were trying to save, and like a slight bit of movement. But I just remember being like, what is all this for? Like what am I doing to save this one bit of light perception? Like, what has happened to me? I didn't believe, I agree with you, that I would amount to anything. I didn't really see a future. I remember writing myself letters, really, really, really dark ones, about not being here anymore. And it was just so isolating that like I would just sit in bed with like big tubs of Ben and Jerry's. And honestly, the real turning point for me was my guide dog. She's the only thing that really got me out of that kind of real fog and depression. Yeah.
I got my first guide dog. I actually started noticing my significant vision loss literally while at training with my first guide dog. Like I called my parents from guide dog training and was like, I've lost a bunch of vision. And it was such weird timing because I had enough vision loss to qualify for a guide dog because I've been fully night blind from birth. So I've never been able to see in dim and dark lighting. So, and I didn't have like peripherals. So, and like I didn't have depth perception. So even though I could see, I couldn't see if there was stairs. So I would trip and fall over them. And I couldn't see at night at all. So I was still like qualified for a guide dog, even though my central vision, when I got her, was pretty much perfect. And so it was weird like that I was at training with Gypsy and my central vision started to go like at that very time. And she was like the one constant I had through it was Gypsy. And I remember when she passed away, it was so hard for me because it felt like she was the thing that got me through the hardest moments in my life. And like how was I going to get through anything if I didn't have her now? It was, but I feel so blessed and lucky that she came into my life like right as I needed her the most.
Yeah.
Feel like divine intervention.
It's so beautiful. Even just talking about that, I'm so emotional. Like I lost my gorgeous Olga only a few months back, last year, and I still can't really talk about her without welling up. And I just wondered like how long will it be? How long was it for you until you could say Gypsy without tearing?
I'm on dog number 4 now.
Yeah.
I've had guide dogs for 19 years this July. And the first is the hardest.
Yeah.
Like that, because you don't know anyone else. Like that's the only version of a guide dog that exists to you. And now I've learned that every dog is different. They have different strengths and weaknesses and different personalities and different pros and cons. And some I love sooner than others. Like some I bond with immediately and others it takes me time. But every dog becomes my favorite dog.
Yeah.
You know, like for different reasons. And I think being on dog number 4 now, it's like I know I'll love again.
Yeah.
I know I'll have life-changing moments with each one of them.
Yeah.
And I know they'll be there to walk through different phases of my life and my journey with me.
Yeah.
The highs and the lows. And that's beautiful. I still, like, every time I talk about her death, that, like, if I go into any kind of level of detail or loss of any of my guides, that gets me emotional still to this day.
Yeah.
Like, she died in 2014. So it's been 12 years since she passed. And I still, like, the only things that I cried about when writing were losing my dogs.
Bless Brendan. Thank you so much, honey.
I gotta get a box.
Yeah, we need to keep a box of tissues. Yes. This podcast is kind of like therapy sessions.
It so is.
So we need to get fidget toys, like a little bin of fidget toys, and we need to get a little box of tissues, just like therapy offices.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it literally when writing Unseen, writing about Gypsy's death, I cried.
Yeah.
And in the original draft, I wrote about losing Benny.
Yeah.
I still had Gallop when I wrote Unseen. And I didn't end up putting that Benny's portion in the book. But those were literally the only 2 things that made me cry in the entire book. I talked about so many hard things and so much trauma. And the only things that made me cry was my dogs. Like,
geese. They're just so gorgeous.
They're so special. And
I just love her so much.
And it's like when you are going through so much heaviness, to have this pure joy, this like, pure love in your life that like doesn't judge you and doesn't think anything is wrong with you and only wants to help you. Yeah, like they love to help you.
Yeah.
Where like everybody else in our life, when we ask like, can you XYZ help me with this? We feel this like guilt or this shame that you need that support. The dog, you don't feel that because they're like, yay, I get to help you.
Mommy.
They're like excited for you to ask them to help. And it makes you feel
so amazing.
So good.
For the first time, I remember like grabbing Olga's harness, the first time thinking, how am I going to trust this little doggy? She's not even 2. And I'm putting one foot in front of the other and I feel terrified. And like, I just getting that first loaf of bread, honestly, to this day, I reckon my mom was probably behind us all the way, just looking to see if we were okay. But like, I didn't ever need to worry with Bogsy. But like the moments where I would be at school and I'd be known for the girl with the dog, I look back and I just think, oh, like, I don't know who I would have been without Bogsy. Like, yeah.
That's
I wear
what I
around
always
my
say.
neck every day.
I always say that being able to get a guide dog as a 13-year-old changed my life. Like, I am who I am because I had a guide dog as a teenager. And I know that sounds dramatic.
No, it doesn't.
But going through your teen years is some of the hardest years of your life. And we both went through an immense life-altering change and traumatic event in that time.
Yeah.
And to have this creature next to you, no matter what, like I would literally have full conversations with her as if she was responding. I would, if I was going through something and I couldn't say how I felt, I would talk as her.
Yeah.
Like she was like my ventriloquist dummy. Like I would use her to communicate things that were too hard for me to say.
Yeah.
And I developed the confidence and the independence that I had because of her.
Literally.
Like it wasn't me, it was
No,
her.
it was
and
her.
I developed that through her.
Yeah.
And like that is, I know that getting a service dog at a young age is not right for everybody, but when it is right for you, it is the most incredible thing. And like if you think that your child or if you as a teen think you're ready for this and you have the confidence, you have the independence and the O&M and the lifestyle for it and the maturity to handle it, It's a lot of work.
Yeah,
it's really hard work, but it is so rewarding, like what it
Gosh.
gives back to you.
Absolutely. The amount of times that little Bogsy's ears were wet from my tears, but we had each other, and that's all that mattered.
I had
think.
so much acne around my mouth because I would rub her. One of my like little like when I was anxious, I would take her ear and I would just rub it on my lips because it was so soft, and I would rub it
Literally.
on my cheeks.
Oh.
And my mom would be like, "Molly, you're getting all this acne because you keep rubbing your dog's ear on your face." But it was like, it was my comfort. Like I'd be sitting in class and she'd be sitting up next to me and I'd just be rubbing her ear on my face in class. Like it was just like made me feel so much safety.
That's so cute. Do you have any like silly memories of Gypsy? Because I've got one for Bogsy. We're in history, and she chewed the whole doorstop, but no one like told me because she was quite quiet for the first bit of it because it was like quite thin at the end. And the teacher just stops the whole class, and they're like, I think your dog's chewing the doorstop. I was like, sorry.
Gypsy cleared my entire English class. She farted so bad. It was so stinky. It was so stinky. It was mortifying. And we had to leave the classroom and find a new empty room in the school to continue the lesson because she stunk the room up that bad. Poor little lady. And then I brought her to the vet and we got her on a new diet.
Oh, bless her.
And thankfully the gas
Honestly.
went away. Oh my God, it was so horrific and she was so funny every time. It was like she was a comedian. Like every time the teacher would assign homework, she'd go, and everybody in class would be like, yeah, Gypsy, exactly.
Exactly, Gypsy. Oh my God, Bogsy did that so many times. Honestly, their tummies, hilarious. The amount of work meetings I would go to, and Bogsy would let one. It's
and you're like,
penny
I
pie.
swear it's not me. I
Yeah.
swear it's not me. I think the guy sitting next to me got in trouble for it. He had previously asked to go to the bathroom. The teacher had said no.
Yeah.
And then the teacher was like, well, if I knew it was going to be that bad, Eric, I would have let you go. And I was like, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And like, I knew it was Gypsy. And I was like, I am not, sorry, I am not going to save you. Oh, it was bad.
Oh, bless Eric. Sorry, Eric.
Sorry. But yeah, the dog is, I just, it feels like divine intervention that Gypsy came into my life like right at that time.
Yeah.
How soon after your vision loss did you get Olga?
So, I lost my sight, I think it was about 8 months, yeah. It was very quick in that I didn't know whether I wanted a dog, but I remember mom and dad bringing me the forms being like, you so should. And I left them on the table for like 2 months. And then I was like, yeah, I actually would love it. I think they're so right that I think it would make me. And I feel like it did. We went all around the country doing reports for Radio 4 and BBC, and yeah, she just went on so many train rides, that doggy with me. And she was so tall, Mol. Probably not as tall as your doggies, but like for UK standards, oh my God, Miss Bogger, she would rip my arm off. And I was so like honestly 18 and like not used to big doggies. And I was like, it's so weird that they've matched me with such a big doggy. And everyone would be like, oh, he's lovely. And I'd be like, no, she's got a pink collar on, okay? Oh, so funny, the moments with her.
They're just, they're so special. But I can promise you, being on number 4, it does get easier with each one. Like, I will sob for weeks and be devastated every time. And it takes me a long time to get over it. But I have learned that, like, even if it takes time, I will love this dog again.
Yeah.
And it will be just as special in my life. And it will have just as many beautiful moments with me as the one before it. Yeah. But it is the hardest part of being a guide dog handler is the reality that you will lose them.
Yeah.
And that when you lose them, it's not losing a pet, it's losing your independence and your confidence and your best friend and your security blanket and your eyes and like all of these other things. Like it's this creature that you're used to being with 24/7. You know, it's not.
Yeah. Honestly,
it's not a pet.
You lose the moments where, you know, I think back and I'm like, oh my gosh, Bogsy was my childhood. Like, I just felt like in that moment, I lost all of those memories that went
Yeah.
with her. And
I felt the same.
yeah, just moving to London and going in a taxi for the first time and getting refused for the first time. All those firsts like I had with her, and I just didn't know who to be or where to place myself without her. So I agree with you. I think now looking forward to Miss Moles, I think she's just the most gorgeous girl on the planet. And she, you know, she loved Olga as her sister for so many years. And I think it's just different, right? You know, Molly walked down the aisle with me, and there's so many different things where Miss Molly was on the Pantene shoot with me, and all of these different things that she doesn't have to be Olga.
Yeah.
You know, she doesn't have to take her place. She just, you know, it's just a different time in your life. And
then
yeah.
she might be the one who like is with you when you become a mom,
Yeah.
or you know, like they have their special moments. And I also went through all my firsts with Gypsy. I went through my first love, my first heartbreak, graduating high school, moving out on my own for the first time and living in the big city, getting my first big girl job,
Yeah.
like all of going to prom. All of these moments happened with her. And it felt like when she was gone, those things were gone too.
Yeah.
Which is so strange because obviously that's not how life works.
True. Yeah.
But I know that exact feeling. And you're like, how can I do any firsts without the one that did
Again.
all the firsts with me?
Yeah.
But you realize each dog has a different chapter in your life.
Yeah.
And like, how lucky am I that I get to live my life in chapters with dogs?
Yeah. I'm so lucky that we loved and lost, because I just never would have wanted to not love Boggy at all.
The pain of losing them is so worth the beauty that they bring when they're here.
Yeah, so true.
And all the memories that we get to hold with them.
Yeah, so true.
You actually started dating your now husband before your vision loss.
I did.
Which is really special that he's walked this journey in its entirety with you.
I agree.
Tell me about meeting Ollie.
Oh, bless him, my Ollie Bobs. Where do I start? I think I was in a really bad relationship to start when I was a young girl, and I broke it from that. And I remember being like, I need a hobby. I need to like reinvent myself. And Mom took me to get a new outfit. And I remember feeling really fly and walking into this amateur dramatics club and being like, oh, I'm going to make loads of new friends. And there Ollie Bobs was with these like cringy white trainers, which eventually we got rid of. Sorry, Bobs. And his nice little graphic tee and his gorgeous flicky hair. And he's just a bundle of sunshine with his smiles. And Ollie was only there because of a family friend who was running it, because he lived across the city. Like, I would have never met him. So it's so fortuitous that he kind of knew Jane, who ran the Amateur Dramatics Club. And Jane said to Ollie on one day when she was around for a roast with the rest of her family and Ollie's, and she said, oh, Ollie, I need boys for this upcoming play. There's loads of girls there kind of trying to bend his arm to be like, come on. You know, there's a girl called Lucy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so weird, like fortuitous. But yeah, it kind of happened like that. And our first like interaction mainly was when we were paired together, folding a blanket on stage. I can't even remember what we were doing now. I think it was like a production of Our House. But I always say this one line in that we got together properly on the after party of Peter Pan, where I was Wendy. And he was the pirate that tried to kill me. So romantic. And he always goes, oh, I was Starkey as well. I didn't, you know, he was only the one in the play. Starkey didn't even make it to the film. So yeah, he's adorable. I then was like, I had sight when I met him, and I was losing my vision. We'd talk about space because we're like space nerds with all this moon stuff. Oh my gosh, like we're just all
as is my fiance. I'm the only non-space nerd in this house today.
Sorry,
me and Elton.
Yeah, literally, I just love the moon. So yeah, we bonded over that, over Facebook Messenger, and
throwback.
I know, it does feel like that. It's a derelict now.
Did you tell him you were going blind? Like, did he know that you had vision loss?
He did, actually, because the really bad relationship that I had kind of was like very toxic about my vision loss. So I was like, oh, well, I need to tell him that I might lose my sight one day. And I remember having a cataract and us going out for like 2 days. And me being like, sorry, I can't go out anymore with you because I can't see. And then I just blanked him, bless him. And he was like, oh, okay. And then a few months later, I kind of got back in touch. I was like, sorry, I just feel really emotionally unstable at the moment. He was like, it's okay. And he kind of just talked to me as I was going through my operations and stuff. And yeah, we got back together 2 months before, and I kind of knew that I was, as I say, like going blind. It was all up in the air. And I remember really vividly actually it being like Red Nose Day, which is like a charity event that they host on the BBC in the UK. And it's quite a big night. It usually is like quite a big fundraiser, like on the telly. And really vividly, like that's one of the last like things I saw on the telly, like the red nose with like the 2 eyes and the smile. And Ollie was with me, and I remember him being in my bedroom and in my family's house, and the lamp kind of glowing behind him and saying to him, "You're glowing, Ollie." He was like, "What?" So that was kind of the start of everything, really. And we were little kids, Mol, like we couldn't process it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like, you know, the amount of times that I said to him, like, you can leave, you know, and he was like, what? Like, it didn't even, I think he was so old for his age, and so was I. Like, we just, you know, and some people, they grow apart, and that's fine, but we grew together in some lovely universe.
It's so beautiful. It's like
yeah.
very, very much like souls that were meant to meet.
Yeah. Honestly, like his birthday as well is half of mine. Like I'm 1812 and he is 9-6. So
That's so cute.
yeah, it's really sweet.
You have no remaining vision.
None.
Like no light, no shadow, nada.
Nada. Mm-hmm.
And one way in which you are also like me is we have zero visual memory,
Mm-hmm.
which I was always told growing up by other people in the blind community that like their visual memory post vision loss lasted about 7 years. And so that was my assumption, is that like I wouldn't retain visual memory and that nobody does.
Mm-hmm.
And then in my 20s and 30s, I've met all these blind people who have visual memory.
Oh, wow.
And I'm so bitter.
yeah.
I'm like, why didn't I get that?
Literally.
I'm literally, it's been so long since I've had visual memories that I wonder if I ever did.
Yeah.
Like, that's how much I don't have it. I'm like, did I ever have any visuals?
Yeah.
I guess they call it like aphantasia, where people, which can even happen to sighted people, where they can't visualize things in their head. So I'm like, did I always just have that? But I swear I had visuals as a kid in my head, and I don't understand, but I have none now.
Interesting. Yeah, like I constantly ponder this more. Like I constantly think back to, you know, 13 years ago is a long time now. And I always say to people, like, it's like taking a photo and putting it in a drawer and just not being able to, and locking that drawer away and never seeing that photo again. And like, you know, sort of remembering the fuzzy vision. Like I don't even know really whether that's even the case anymore. And then I talk to family members, and me and Ollie constantly talk about this because he has like visual memory, just like he can imagine something like just on the spot if you were to talk to him. You know, he can conjure up, like if I said, oh, imagine a ball and it's falling on the table, he could tell you what color that ball was, what tablecloth the table had, all that sort of stuff. I've not even ever been able to do that even when I had sight. So, you know, the concept of visual memory to me is so weird. And I think definitely I lost it within around 7 years. But I think even to your point, like I don't think I really had it as a sighted person anyway in the same detail that Ollie's explaining.
Yeah, there's apparently like a full spectrum of visual memory, or like being able to create visuals. So the spectrum starts at aphantasia, which is zero ability, which is where you and I would sit. And then it goes all the way to like level 5, which is crisp, vivid, 3D, hyper-realistic visualizations. And it's so strange. Like I'll try to listen to meditations. Like my partner and I will put on meditations going to sleep. And he's like following the visual meditation. Like he's creating visuals as they describe them. And I'm just laying there like, wah, 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 wah. They're just words. They mean nothing. I'm not conjuring anything from it. And I wish I did, because I think watching movies and TV shows and audiobooks even would be so much more fun. Like, I struggle with TV shows even when they have good AD if it's not heavy on dialogue. Like, I like shows that are small cast, pretty self-contained, so very few set changes, and very dialogue heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Because the audio description is like just small filler. I do not like shows where there's like large chunks of just visuals with music and a ton of stuff to be described and crazy costumes and special effects, and because I cannot conceptualize it.
No, same.
And I check out. Like, I'll start to fall asleep.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm not gripped. I'm not involved in it because it's not translating to anything in my head, and it's really frustrating.
Yeah.
Especially because I consider myself like a hyper visual blind person. All of my passions are like makeup, fashion, home decor. And every time I go to a new place, I'm like, oh, what does it look like? What's the decor? What's the design? Oh, what did that person we just met look like? Like, what are they wearing? I want to know that stuff, even though it doesn't actually translate to a visual in my head, which I understand is weird.
No, I'm the same.
It just becomes a concept.
I'm exactly the same. It's just a construct or a concept. It's so weird though, isn't it? I think you can like something and intellectualize it, I think,
Yes.
without understanding its meaning. And I think that's where me and you have always been so similar, in that, we don't have this tangible aesthetic of like what a lovely room looks like anymore. But I think we've made it our own in the textures we put in it and the smells we still, smell. So I don't know.
I'm curious to hear your answer to this commonly asked question for blind people.
Oh, go on.
What do you see in your dreams as somebody who's totally blind with no visual memory?
Nothing. Like, absolutely nothing. I have more dreams that are quite gory, that I'm waking up like deep breathing, crying, like one of my family members have died, like it's not great, or I basically have nothing at all.
So my dreams, I can see like sometimes like blurs of light, since I do have light and shadow perception still. So I'll see like blurs of light or shadow, but majority of my dream is very multisensory. So I can smell in my dreams. So like if I'm like perfume shopping, I'm smelling the perfumes in my dream. I can taste. If I'm eating food, I will taste the food in my dream. I can touch the textures. So like when I wake up from my dream, I know what I was wearing in my dream because I remember feeling the texture of my outfit.
Wow.
Like, my dreams are extremely visceral in every way but visual. So there's no like distinct visuals. But what's also interesting is in majority of my dreams, even though I'm not actually seeing in them, I am sighted. I don't have a cane. I don't have a guide dog. I'm not reading Braille. I'm not having blind girl issues. I am like interacting in the world like I am sighted, even though I'm not seeing anything.
You know what? Now you mention that, I never have a cane in my dreams. Like, Miss Molly is next to me and just sniffing or like following me around, but I'm never with my cane. You're so right. And it is just like a storybook. Like, I'm reading myself a story. Like, Lucy is going here. Lucy is going there. But that is so cool that you have textures.
Yeah, I have all of these like multis.
that.
And my fiance says he doesn't have any of that. He's like, what are you talking about?
No.
And he has like super vivid, crazy sci-fi-esque dreams.
Literally same as Ollie.
Whereas mine are like super grounded in reality. Like, they're just literally like, if we just talked about makeup tonight, I'll go dream about makeup. Like, it's very rooted in my reality.
Would you have more crime dreams, or you don't get that?
If I have nightmares, it is like crime related. So
Okay.
like being kidnapped in the back of an Uber or somebody stabbing me or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, I feel like my dreams are just like really weird, like traveling related, like stuff that I do every day.
Wow.
Or the only times I've had guide dog related dreams is if something in my life, like when I lost Ben really suddenly and unexpectedly, my third guide dog. I only had him for 8 months and he developed an issue and had to be retired. And like when I was going through that, I had lots of guide dog related dreams. But even then, like, I remember it didn't feel like they were guiding me. It was more like the emotional attachment of a guide dog that I was dreaming about versus like physically being guided by a guide dog, which is so bizarre.
That is weird, but cool. Cool weird.
Yes. Okay, the other thing I know we have in common is that we both have Charles Bonnet syndrome.
Oh, yes, we do. We see little shapes.
So I have 24/7 visual hallucinations. For those who don't know, Charles Bonnet syndrome is one of the only known things that causes visual hallucinations that is not a psychiatric condition. And it essentially happens to people who lose their vision very quickly, generally to retinal diseases specifically. And unfortunately, it's not talked about nearly enough because of the stigma around visual hallucinations. A lot of people are scared to talk about the fact that they have visual hallucinations. It's also suspected that a lot of older people with macular degeneration, which is a common retinal form of vision loss for the elderly, actually get misdiagnosed as having like Alzheimer's or dementia when they actually have Charles Bonnet syndrome because they're experiencing visual hallucinations. And the visual hallucinations with Charles Bonnet syndrome can range anywhere from hyper-realistic visuals, like of actual full-on scenery of people, animals, landscapes, to more vague lights, patterns, shadows, geometric shapes. And it is often compared to taking LSD. I've never taken LSD, so I couldn't tell you, but I have heard that, like, from studies and stuff, that's like the most comparable is that it's like we're on LSD all the time.
I've heard that.
Fun.
Love that.
Yay, us.
Love that for us. So what do you see?
My Charles Bonnet presents as blue, green, and purple. Neon, like a neon luminescent sign that you would see in like a store window. It's like that bright light neon, blue, purple, green, and it covers my entire visual field. Every single part of my visual field has these bright whizzing shapes. So a lot of times it's like worms, like these lines that are just like moving in all of these crazy patterns, circles, squigglies, and sometimes they'll become like polka dots, or they're always moving. They're never still. So they're always constantly whizzing around really quickly. Sometimes they're more sparse. Other times they're more like fully covering everything, but they're always in my entire field. So in front, side, up, down, everywhere. And they can change. Like sometimes it'll be like, ooh, look, a sailboat, or like things like that. But it's always neon colors making the shape of things. So it'll be like the shape of a heart or a sailboat floating on by in the waves of the river. But it's like weird neon lights versions of those things. But mostly it's like abstract geometric patterns.
Yeah.
But when I was younger and I had more vision, so my Charles Bonnet started when I was 8. And when I was younger and I had more vision, that I was having to look through the visual hallucinations to see the real world beyond it, I would see hyper-realistic things. So like I saw a girl at the end of my bed once. Maybe I was being visited by a Holy Spirit, who knows? I would sometimes see like a blob on the ground that I thought would be like a dog. Or so I would like go to touch things, but nothing would be there. It was just my visual hallucinations. But I haven't had hyper-realistic ones since I was very young. It's mostly just the blue, green, and purple whizzing lights. What about you?
So when I was a little girl, I agree with you. Like I would go to like wipe some dirt off my cheek, but it would be my visual hallucination. I would go to do my makeup when I was like 11 or 12. And it wouldn't be there because I would be like, oh, I thought I put some liner there and I hadn't. And I would see a lot of ghosts in my wardrobe because my wardrobes were white. And every time I looked over in the dark, if it was like dusk in my room, but my light was still like on, but like on the dimmer switch, I'd be like, oh my God, there's something. Oh no, actually, I didn't see anything. It was literally just my vision. And it used to really freak me out. I think that's probably what stemmed from my nightmares, because I used to then go to sleep because it was always at nighttime, and then dream about that ghost or dream about that thing that I thought I'd seen. Nowadays, I see little dots. Like I have something called trypophobia. I don't know if I I've chatted
The
about
holes,
it loads.
the fear of
The
tiny
fear of
holes.
tiny holes. Oh, it makes me so
My
thinking
fiance
about
and
it.
I have recently been talking about this. Neither of us have it, but we have been discussing what it stems from.
Honestly, I think in my vision is like tiny little craters that flash and move, and some of it's dark black and some of it's really jet black and some of it's dark grey, and it just constantly flashes at me, Mol. And yeah, there's like different bright lights that come into my eye, but they're never any colours. They're always just like what you would see, I guess, as a really big like ring light, you know, the whitest light.
I'll get those sometimes too.
Yeah.
The white ones, the
white
bright like
ones.
white flashes
And
or
then, like,
circles.
tiny little flashes where it's like a little lightning flash. Yeah, so that's me.
Interesting. Most of mine aren't flashing. They're consistent and like moving and pulsing and
Yeah.
but it's not like one bright flash. It's just like a consistent, constant neon light
Oh, interesting.
that I'm always seeing. So like it's never dark in my world. Like
Yeah.
you can pull the blackout curtains, all the lights are off. I'm completely blind.
Yeah.
And
There's a
eyes are closed. It is bright in my eyes. It is
same.
always on. The lights are always on in my head, which means I can
Absolutely.
sleep when it's bright and sunny out because it looks no different to me because my eyes are always bright. And I think it's really funny that people think of blindness as darkness because I'm never in the dark and I am blind.
Yeah, literally. It's always in our head.
I have another really big question that everybody loves to ask blind people. So there is this conception that when you're fully blind, you see black. You have been fully sighted, so you know what black looks like. As now somebody who's completely blind, do you see black?
I feel like I do. I know that there's some people that are like, oh, well, you just see nothingness, and it's like, you know, nothingness is just like looking at your elbow. And I get that too, but I really do describe it as black. This is what I would have said black is in my sighted life, so I'm probably not going to change my description now. But
Interesting.
You do you, boo-boo.
So you see black, and then you have like
Those
flashes.
Flashes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. It's so hard with like having light perception. It's so hard to describe what that means.
Yeah.
And it means something different for everybody with light and shadow perception. Like it's so interesting. I think about often the fact that like nobody in the world sees what I see.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the only person in the world who looking out of these eyes sees exactly what I see. And it's like everybody with 20/20 vision sees the same.
Mm-hmm.
But I see something that's entirely unique just to me. You could have the exact same disease, the exact same vision loss, all the same diagnoses, and we see completely differently. And our interpretation of the world and what we do see is so, so vastly different. I feel like the way I always explain it is like in a room of 10 blind people, I'm like number 9 most blind. And the only one that's blinder than me would be the Lucy, the like no light or shadow. But I'm like right at that peak, that like furthest end that you can get to of still having some kind of something left.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. We're probably like the minority in the room. Yeah.
Definitely. I feel like always since my vision loss at 14, like whenever I was with big groups of blind people, almost everybody could see more than I could. And I'd be like, oh,
damn it.
Oh, wow. I guess I really am that blind.
Yeah. Same. Yeah.
The transition, I feel like, from being able to do like Zoom to being a screen reader user is such a jump.
Yeah.
Like,
gosh, yeah.
I often talk about this with like other friends of mine who have had that same transition. The barriers that level of change puts up in your life is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that was why, for me, even though growing up I was legally blind and I did have significant vision loss, I know that comparatively to what I live with today, I could see. You know, like I call that version of myself sighted Molly.
Yeah.
Even though she was legally blind. And it's by in no means to like demean people who are legally blind and have a lot of usable vision.
Mm-hmm.
It is just to say that I know the difference of being on this end of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that like I could see a lot. Even though to other people I couldn't see a lot. To me now, what that vision gave me, the abilities that it gave me was huge comparatively to the ways I now have to adapt.
Yeah. snap. I think back to that version of me and that massive magnifier. Did you ever have one?
Oh, yeah.
It's like a TV, and then you slid your book
CCTV.
underneath, and it
Yep.
was like a massive thing in your living room. But I constantly think about this, like somebody asked me the other day, they were like, do you want to be defined as blind? I was like, yeah, like there's no other thing that really accurately describes what I live with. Because they were asking whether I wanted to be called blind or visually impaired. And I said, well, actually, if you call me visually impaired now or severely sight impaired, there's no real sight to be severely impaired. So it's really weird how like we all want to be called different things. And this is what's so important, that because we always say, don't we, Mol, that blindness is a spectrum. And yeah, just because we're the one side of it doesn't mean there's just not an amazing community of like-minded people out there, or people who don't love fashion and makeup like us that live completely different lives. But I think this is what's so important, to listen to so many different voices within a community. Otherwise you just have no clue,
Absolutely. It's such a huge spectrum, and we all have different needs. And different lived experiences. And it's why representation matters so much, is I understand that not everybody's going to be seen in my lived experience of blindness, and that's okay. I exist so that the people who do see themselves in me can have representation. And it's been so amazing to see from 12 years ago when we both started and there was just a few of us, to where we are today, where there is truly somebody for everybody.
Yeah.
Like it's such a huge community. And if you don't see yourselves in you and I, you can see yourself in somebody.
Yeah.
And that is so important.
So important.
I want to talk about makeup because that is a huge passion for both of us. Did you learned to do your makeup when you could still see, and then kind of transitioned to doing it as a blind person?
I did. Yeah.
Okay, because I only learned it without sight.
See, this is why you're slay. No, but this is so interesting. Yeah, I think, I think I did way worse makeup though when I could see, because I was only like, I don't know, 15, 16 when I was starting to play with makeup. And yeah, I think I was really bad. I remember the Max Factor.
We all were
cream
really bad.
blusher.
We were
Yeah.
all really bad.
Honestly, we were. And I think I'm just so much better now I can't see. And people will probably hear this and be like, what? Like, what does she mean? But I've had way more practice. Like, my sister's like looked at every pore of my skin and every blackhead and every this, that, the other. She's like microscopically looked at my face as if it's hers. So I might as well have had a mirror. I'm so lucky to have her. She's only like 15 months younger than me, and she's got sight. Shout out to Ali. And I don't know, like I think her having autism as well, and her being on the spectrum has really helped me, because she's so precise with her language, and that black and white language has really helped me kind of understand, just like to cut out all the rubbish maybe from like the online beauty world that I wouldn't necessarily have wanted anyway, and just see the world through her lens. And it's been so beautiful from a neurodivergent spectrum.
I love that so much. Like, that's, again, like finding the beauty in things that a lot of people would see as a negative. Like, there's so much beauty that disability of any kind gives us. Like, the fact that her black and white thinking due to autism is a benefit to you as a blind person, because she's able to be like honest and blunt and clear in a way that maybe other people aren't able to do.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you, honey. I think it's really made us closer and bond. And, makeup was her special interest. So then I had it as my special interest because I wanted to bond with her. And I loved doing it together. Like, we would grow up and watch all of the YouTubers like you did, like doing their makeup. And I was so lucky because, I couldn't see the makeup tutorials, but she would describe.
She would be
hours
your
of
live
them.
makeup
Yeah,
tutorial.
and I don't know, I felt like the cut crease and the really dramatic eyes, and I had everything. Like, oh my God, some of my makeup back then, it was so sharp and cut crease and all these things, but it was very Alice. It was like we were watching drag queens and like all these YouTubers that did like amazing things in the States, and I just loved like just basically losing myself to just the art of it, and I loved that I could do it. So I never forget my privilege there that I had her.
I had a brother who is not into makeup.
Exactly.
And my mom is one of those people, like, she loves makeup and she wears it, but I taught her how to do it. Like, I literally had no one.
Yeah.
I was entirely just figuring it out, listening to tutorials online, and reviews and hauls and
Yeah.
learning and experimenting and exploring. And I didn't even have like a blind friend or a life skills teacher or anybody. Like every single part of my makeup today was entirely self-taught.
Oh, love
And
it.
I just had to figure it out, but I had so much fun doing it. And similarly, like it was something I just got lost in.
Yeah.
It was something that made me feel normal. It was something that made me feel like a normal teenage girl to just have this passion and this interest in this collection.
Yeah.
I was like a huge MAC makeup collector. Every collection that dropped, I was there getting my products. And
Oh,
I then and still to this day have always been the friend that all my sighted friends come to for makeup advice. Like, what products should I buy? And
yeah.
I don't need to see in the mirror to be able to do my makeup and to be able to love doing my makeup.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I feel like I struggle with visual language sometimes in that I don't understand what certain words mean when you describe things visually, or like I can't conceptualize what somebody means when they say certain things about how I look, or I don't know, like it's interesting to me that you like the black and white language
Yeah.
because I kind of need like soft language. Otherwise, I feel like in my head, I'll completely blow up and distort what you're saying into something more extreme.
Oh, I love that. Well, I don't love it because I'm seeing and hearing your mental torment, but I kind of I know what you mean. It's like I think for me because I grew up with Ali, like she made me see the beauty in just being like it's either yes or no. And I think for me, having that middle ground of fine, I didn't really know what to do with that because I couldn't see it myself.
Mm,
So, yeah, when she said, like, is it okay? Yes or no? I found myself like not spiraling in my head and her stopping those thoughts for me, which rightly or wrongly, I think allowed me to then like maybe develop a style that was more in line with hers, which she now says like we were very like bold and beautiful together because she was more bold. And now I think as I've got older, I'm more of a mix of like me and like mom and Ali. Um, so yeah, maybe at those points would I have done slightly softer makeup?
mm,
Possibly. But I think because I was experimenting with Alice, I kind of didn't care that maybe that wouldn't be exactly to my taste, but because it was an art form as well, it was getting me through that kind of bit of depression that I was struggling with. That when someone said, "Oh, well, you look fine," and then I was like, "Well, I can't look in the mirror to see whether I'm actually yes or
yeah.
no," and
Mhm.
fine means like 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
That was kind of my everything. But what about you?
I definitely agree with that in some ways. Like, say, when it comes to fashion,
Yeah.
my mom is like my honest mirror. She
Yeah.
will tell me if something isn't flattering, if it
Yeah.
does not look good on me, if the color doesn't suit me. Like, she's extremely honest. Like, I'll put something on, she's like, nope, take it off. Not good.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that because that is who I would be if
Yeah.
I could see in the mirror.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of friends, if I go shopping with them, like they don't want to be mean or rude, so they'll just like hype me up. And like that's not actually helpful.
Yeah.
Like just hyping me up doesn't make me feel good. I
Uh-huh.
want the honesty because then I know when you say I look good, I actually look good because you would tell me if I don't. So I trust you if you say I do.
Yeah.
And like, so I do understand in that sense. I think what I mean is like if somebody tells me like, um, I don't know, like if they say like, what's going on with your brows? I'll like panic. I'm like, what do you mean what's going on with my brows? Like, I get like, I can't look in the mirror to be like, what are they talking about? My brows look fine. Or like when somebody comments like, you need lip filler because your upper lip is really thin. I like spiral because I can't look in the mirror and like check myself.
No, I get you. I get that. As a background, yeah, I think because we don't have that background ability to just check ourselves, it kind of like elicits this response in you that's like, oh, well, I got my eyebrows microbladed, so should I or shouldn't I? And then it makes you like, I don't know, question that decision that past you made. And it's like,
Yes.
what?
And I like spiral.
Yeah.
Or like there was one comment on this video and all the comments were talking about how good my makeup looked. And then one singular comment was like, her boyfriend really needs to get like basic makeup lessons so he can fix her makeup better.
Oh,
And it was like, even though every other comment was praising the makeup,
yeah.
in my head, all I could hear was that one comment being like, well, what do they mean by that?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, what are they talking? Is it the color theory? Is it the color combos that I was wearing? Is it the actual technique? Is it not blended? Like, because I can't just look at it and be like, that person's crazy. They're just an internet troll. And it's weird how, like, I tend to, in my brain, trust the people who are critical more than I trust the people who are complimenting me, because I worry, like, when people say things like, oh my God, you do your makeup better than me and I'm sighted, are they just like being nice?
Yeah. No, I get
When
you.
people say like, you're so pretty, are they just being nice? Like, are they just trying to make me
You
feel good?
Yeah.
Because I'd almost rather, as awful as this sounds, assume that I'm average looking than assume that I'm beautiful.
I know what you mean.
So if like people tell me I'm beautiful, I just assume like they're being nice, but I'm actually average.
No, I do get you. Because I'm like, sometimes I say to all, like, he goes, you're gorgeous. And I'm like, you're biased. Like,
that's what I say to that's literally what and he's always like, you need to believe me. I struggle a lot to take that compliment.
Same. I do too.
The only person that I've ever been able to accept it from is my mom, because she's historically been able to be very critical.
Yes.
And I don't mean that in a bad way, but
in
she
an
will tell
amazing
me if
way.
I don't look good.
Literally.
So when she tells me I do, I'm like really
yes.
believe it.
I'm
But
like,
it's the only person. She's the only person I think like is my mirror.
Same with me and my mom, definitely. But my sister, like my mom laughs because like the buck stops with Alice. It's like she makes me know, like let it known that if those trousers, I have a camel toe in them, Alice will tell me. Or like, and then when Ollie uploads a photo, Alice like messages me on Insta like, take it down. Love goggles. Love goggles. No, I would not upload
My
that.
mom will do the same. That is so funny. I love it. We all us blind girlies need like the honest person in our life. But I'm glad you also struggle when your husband compliments you, because I do. Like, whenever my fiance says nice things, I'm like, you're just saying that because you love me. Like, of course you think I'm beautiful. You're my fiance. Like, you're not gonna tell me if I don't. Like, you have the love goggles. You think I'm perfect. I'm not.
We need to coin that.
The internet trolls are the ones that are going to be honest with me.
Yes. Oh, yeah, we need to block our comments, Mol. That say that.
The upper lip one literally lives rent-free in my brain.
Babe, honestly.
And then my mom and my fiance were like, Molly, it was one person. I'm like, it had 12 upvotes. 12 people thumbs it up. That's 13 people that all agreed all together. Collectively, that I need lip injections.
Honestly, but if we were sighted and we were content creators and sighted content creators, we'd probably get the same comment. And we'd
you
just
know
be
what?
like, F it.
I would never say that to anybody if I could see. Like, the audacity is insane. I would actually never.
Literally.
But also, I love that you talked about how you feel like your style was just simply Alice's style on you. That is something I've reflected about so much, is like, where is my style versus the people around me's influence on my style? And definitely like when I was younger, I was like very like emo scene kid. Like, I loved like heavy black eyeliner, nude out lips, and colored hair. And like my mom liked the natural makeup, the pretty light youthful look. So she'd always be like, the eyeliner's too much. But I'd be like, but that's what I want. I want the eyeliner to be too much. And it was like this constant tug of war where she like hated nude lips, but I wanted nuded out lips. Like, we always had this back and forth where like her style then ended up defining my style.
Literally.
And it's been so hard as I've gotten older to truly be like, what is actually my style? And my mom and I still have like very similar style. Like, half of our closet is just shared. Like, we just own the same item.
Babe, honestly, me, Mom, and Alice, we constantly have this back and forth because Mom always goes, Alice, you need to dull it down a little bit. Like, Lucy is like your style, but a bit more like girly. So like Alice hates pink, but she always buys me pink things, but like same but different. And like, it's really interesting how you've had this exactly conversations with your mom as well, because I wear half what Mom does, half what Ali does. And what's really interesting is now when, I don't know whether with the trends you've seen this too, but I've been recently like chucking loads of stuff out of my wardrobe. And it's like all the stuff that I didn't want to let go of because I used to be able to see in it. But oh my God, it's all coming back. And Alice was shopping with me the other day and she was like, Lou, this looks like literally something you've got in like 3 sizes smaller. And you probably saw this yourself. And that freaks me out because I'm like, what? Like, the styles are coming back and I bought this? What? So then Alice bases her like thoughts of like my body type and different things about what I used to wear as well now because the fashion's coming around. Oh my God, Mol, it's just such a minefield.
It's weird because for me, I also like, I study like, okay, what body type do I have? What silhouettes look good on, I'm a pear shape. What clothing styles look best on a pear shape? And like, I like kind of intellectualize it a little bit.
Yeah.
Or like with makeup, I like really do a lot of research to understand color because I have no concept visually of color. So I try to intellectualize color. What colors coordinate well together for makeup or for clothing? Making sure like I'm literally researching my blushes and lipsticks to know which are all the cool toned ones. Those are the ones I'll pair together when I'm doing my makeup, which are all my warm toned ones. And I label them and organize them so I know like what's warm toned, what's cool toned. So I'm not doing like a warm toned blush with a cool toned lipstick. Like I intellectualize my interests because it's the only way that I have a bit of autonomy over like making decisions. And I think it's definitely interesting. Like I know, for example, my mom's always hated on me the half up, half down hairstyle. So like I just never do that hairstyle. And the odd time my partner will be like, you should do that hairstyle. And I'll do it. And in my head, I'm like, it doesn't look good, even though he likes it on me. Because I'm like, my mom doesn't like it on me. And my mom is my thought. Like that's how I think of myself, is through my mom's eyes.
Yeah.
That's my vision of myself.
Yeah. I'm so with you.
And like I like wore my hair that way in a video, and she literally was like, don't do that again. Even though my fiance was like, it looks so cute. And then my mom was like, never do your hair like that again. Like she literally cannot stand the half up, half down. Other people will do it. She thinks it looks so cute on them. Molly does a half up, half down. No, it's too severe. It doesn't look good on your face. It's not flattering. Your face is so funny. Yeah, it's
shout out Neve, we love you.
We love it. We love Mama P. But we all have to have that honest mirror in our lives. But it is like, it's so hard as somebody who's genuinely always been like, when I could see, I was deeply passionate about beauty, fashion, home decor. So as I went blind, the passion didn't go away. I just had to change how I interacted with it. But it was hard to get to a place where it was like finding that middle ground of like taking other people's opinions, but also somehow managing to form my own within that.
Literally. And you can let it overwhelm you and all these thoughts. Like you just really, really hyper focus on the fact that they've said that neckline doesn't look great, but actually it feels really good. So who are you? Then you're fighting with yourself because you're like, well, it's fluffy and gorgeous and lovely and I feel comfy in it and this, that, the other. But actually, is the neckline bad? Do I look good? Do I have a photo in it? Should I take it off in the photo? What do I... La.
I know. And I like... It's so shallow. But one of the hardest parts about being blind for me is that I can't see myself.
Yeah.
Like it's hard. And it's hard to, like, just because sighted Molly liked something doesn't mean blind Molly would. Like, I'm 32, I'm not 14, and my style, how I apply my makeup needs to change as I age.
Yeah.
How the way that I dress needs to change as I age, and my personal taste needs to evolve. But how does taste evolve when you can't see it? Like, it's just so fascinating to think about, which is, again, where I study it.
Literally
I, like, literally
study what shops.
Study makeup trends, and I study clothing trends, and I try to understand it, and then it's a bit of intellectualization and a bit of personal taste and a bit of external opinion.
Absolutely.
Like I use all three of those pillars to form my personal style, my aesthetic, my makeup. And at the end of the day, the most important thing is, how do I feel?
Exactly.
Because I can't see it in the mirror.
Yeah.
So how does it make me feel?
Yeah.
Is like at the end of all of it, that is the key. And if it doesn't make me feel good, it doesn't matter how trendy it is. It doesn't matter that other people say it looks good. None of that matters if I don't feel good.
Exactly.
So feeling good is the base, is the core of everything. I must be comfortable and confident. But all those other layers come into play in a way that, like, I know sighted people don't need to do.
Yeah,
but
are you getting your husband to look on Vogue Runway and audio describe all of the things? Oh, it's so funny. Like, honestly, sometimes I'm like, am I like just over the top? Like, what is going on? But I agree with you. I think like it really has been in my 30s. I don't know about you, that I've just been like, no, this is what I love and this is what I feel. Like if I want to shop in this place, I'm going to do it. And if I want to wear this color or if I want to feel this fabric and texture, I'm going to wear it. And I honestly don't care. And I'm definitely going more into like capsule wardrobes and having things with more like pairing in outfits. I know we did that OOTD together, and we were like, we need things that pair in outfits and like comfy shoes. Like, I don't want to wear massive stiletto heels. I'm going to go a bit shorter and comfier. Thank you very much.
I am curious, like, how you feel about aging without seeing yourself, because that's been very hard for me.
Yeah.
Not being able to see my age spots or fine lines, or like, I don't know, it just like stresses me out to think that my face is changing, that and other people can see it, but I can't.
Yeah.
And the hardest moment for me was when I stopped getting ID'd for alcohol, which sounds so stupid, but like that was the flip. Like that was the moment I realized I had changed.
Yeah.
Because my whole life I've looked young for my age. I always looked like 4 to 6 years younger than I actually was, because I've always been really petite, and I think I've just always had a baby face. So the moment when I was like around 26 and I stopped getting asked for my ID when I was buying alcohol, that was the moment I was like, oh, the way I look has caught up. Like my age has caught up with my appearance, and it's stressed me out ever since. And it's hard going on social media, hearing people complain about aging and complain about like looking in the mirror and seeing this, that, and the other. And like, then I get stressed, like, oh, do I have those things? And I don't even know it. Like, I don't know. I like sometimes I think because I can't see myself, I think about it less. And other times I feel like because I can't see myself, I think about it more.
Yeah. I'll tell you where I am with it. I think I've told you like before, like I get Botox, but I think the amazing part of it is help my migraines, but I didn't go for that. I went to freeze the fine line on my forehead, and that was quite like relatively early. Like I think I was like 26 when I did that, and I couldn't even tell you right now whether I did that just because I wanted that fine line to go away, or whether I was driven by the fact that I wanted to freeze time and thought, oh, well, no one's, audio described me as not looking like I didn't in the mirror, so I'm going to just do it. But the thing about that is that I constantly think about it. I constantly think, oh my gosh, what does it mean to look 30? What does it mean to look 20? Like Ollie will audio describe something and be like, I was like, how, what's the average age of the people in the bar around us? Oh yeah, they're in their 20s. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, oh no, they might have like a sharper jaw or like a more like, softer jaw, like if they're a bit younger. What? Like, do I have a softer, like, my face doesn't feel any different, but other than the line that I had on my forehead, but now I've got rid of that. That means I look 18. But no, I'm still being ID'd. Like, all of this blows my mind, and I can't really conceptualize it. So then I'm just like, well, it makes me tired, and my mom probably looks slay, and she's had nothing done. So the end. Like,
I literally ask my partner all the time, how old is that person? How old is the people in this room? And his go-to answer, and he's self-aware, he jokes about it all the time, is around our age. He just loves the line around our age.
Why should they say that?
Everyone is just around our age. And he's like, when you get to a certain age, it's really hard to tell, like if they're 25 or 35. I don't know.
Why do they say that?
It's so
don't get
funny.
It. I'm like, oh yeah, so they're 30, but you said that like 3 years ago, also. Were they 26? Like, what? I don't get it. Yeah, it's I'm so with you there. I don't understand.
And I know some people will listen to all this and like think it's like, even some blind people will think like you and I are crazy, and like it's weird that we intellectualize like beauty and fashion and aging and all these things so much. But at the end of the day, like, again, these were our passions, and they still are. And so we have to adapt and consume and interact with our passion in a different way, which ultimately means intellectualizing it. And I'm not saying every blind person needs to think about what do I look like and needs to struggle with the fact that they can't see themselves. If you don't, I'm so happy for you, frankly.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't have to love turmoil. Truly, you don't have to love makeup and fashion. Lots of sighted people don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm aware that I am more into makeup and fashion than the majority of sighted people.
Snap.
And that's okay. You don't have to be into it. But just like with anything, when you go blind and your favorite activity is inherently inaccessible, you have to find ways to adapt. And my way of adapting is studying it because I can't just see it.
Yeah, absolutely. We're a bit nerdy with it, babe.
Yes. Okay, so my fiance is an absolute nerd, 10 out of 10 nerd. And I love that. I've always been into hot nerds. Always been my type. And It's so funny because he's always like, "You're a nerd too." And I'm like, "No, I'm not." And he's like, "The way you know like skincare ingredients and how to
Yeah,
layer product so it doesn't
literally.
pill and like all of these things." He's like, "That's nerd territory, Molly. You're just nerdy about a cool thing, but
Yeah.
it's nerdy."
Yeah,
I'm
you
like,
are a nerd, babe.
"Fine, you're right." You're
We're all
right.
nerds. This is why we get on.
We're all nerds in our own way.
Agreed.
Okay. Now it's the part of the show where I ask the awkward question, the thing that everybody wants to know,
Ooh.
but is too scared to ask. I feel like I've already asked you a million of those, but I am so damn curious about this.
Go on.
I had, some would say, a controversy on the internet
Ooh.
many years ago where I talked about how I deal with my period as a blind woman.
Okay.
And I talked very bluntly and very honestly because I don't think there should be taboo around physical health.
No.
And if you have a uterus, a period is a part of that experience. So we should be able to talk about these things. And I'm super open. And I shared honestly that sometimes when I get my period, I don't know that I'm bleeding.
Yeah.
And there's many reasons for that. Everybody is different. I have lots of other health issues going on that mean I don't always know when I'm bleeding and I'm not always regular. So I'm not ashamed to sometimes need to wipe and ask my partner or my mom,
Yeah.
am I bleeding? And that is how I personally, as one blind individual,
Yeah.
choose to accommodate my disability.
Go you,
And it
babe.
works for me.
Yeah.
And the internet lit up. I am so
Really?
curious, how, as a blind woman, do you deal with your
Yeah.
period?
Okay. So I think like it's definitely changed, I would say, as I've grown older. So I'm really lucky and I do recognize my privilege that my cycle has always been really regular and I don't have any hormone issues or endometriosis or anything
Oh,
like
I'm so
that.
jealous.
I know, literally. And that's why I do really recognize my privilege there. So with me, I very much have a regular tummy hurts. It happens. And weirdly, like when I was a younger person, like 18, 19, 20, 21, maybe even a bit later, I would say I could really tell. But it has fluctuated with the different weights I've been more. So like as I've got a bit heavier in a sleigh way, love that I'm curvy, over the past maybe like 5 years, I haven't been able to tell as much because my flow's got a bit heavier. So I would now ask Ollie, whereas back then I would say I could tell a lot more and I could tell that it was in my pad because of the signs that my body made and the fact that it was in there. So, but I would say now, especially as I'm going through fertility and stuff, and you know we're married and my husband does check and my mom checks and my sister checks, and as you say, like it's not that deep, like it's just a bit of blood, you know.
Right? And like, it's a normal part of the human body.
Yeah,
People with uteruses, more likely than not, do experience a cycle.
literally.
And the reality is, I'm not telling anybody else they need to do that as a technique. It
No.
works for me, and I think I'm so lucky that I have trusted people in my life, like my fiance and my mom, who I
Yeah.
trust with that vulnerable thing. And how beautiful is it that I'm so wholly confident and comfortable in my romantic relationship
Literally.
that I am not afraid
You
to show him
can.
that, and that like that he's happy and loving and wants to support me in those ways.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
if
I'm
you as a
sorry you
blind
had
person
that.
can identify independently that you're on your period, I'm thrilled for you. And some months I can, but
Yeah.
other months I can't because I do have PCOS light, which is like a mild form of PCOS. PCOS, like all conditions, is a spectrum. This is how my gynecologist explained it to me when she diagnosed me a year and a half ago, was that PCOS fluctuates depending on your lifestyle, your stress levels, your exercise, your diet. So mine, I managed to keep right at the border. So sometimes I flux out of it and sometimes I flux back into PCOS.
Right.
And so that means my cycle is irregular. That means I'm also one of I think it's 25% of women experience cramping during ovulation. I am one of those. So I experience cramping during ovulation, not just during my period. I also have IBS. So I can get bloating and cramping at any point, depending on what I've eaten.
Yeah.
Like there's so many reasons why for me,
This is the
there
thing.
isn't specific indications.
No.
Also, like, you know, again, things like discharge is a normal part
Agreed.
of the lived experience of having a uterus. And so just the texture change isn't necessarily always a way to identify. And, you know, what was the worst part for me was that I shared that because I didn't have any blind girlfriends who I had discussed this with.
Yeah.
And people had wanted to know. So I shared it. And so many blind women made fun of me.
I'm so sorry.
But equally, so many blind women privately reached out thanking me because they have to do that and had
Yeah.
always felt ashamed.
Literally.
And it broke my heart because I knew that they've spent their lives feeling ashamed and I gave them confidence to know they weren't alone.
Mhm.
But then they're seeing the other blind women making fun of me and feeling that same shame again.
I don't think
And
it's ever justified to make fun of anybody.
especially
Absolutely.
like the comment I got a lot was, you should just know.
Why?
A lot of
Why
other
should
blind
you
women
just
saying,
know?
well, I just know.
Why should
And I
you
was like,
just-
I'm so happy for you. There's a million reasons why I don't just know.
Yeah.
And that's okay because different bodies have different lived experiences
Mm.
and different people choose to accommodate in different ways. And that's okay.
Absolutely. I'm so with you. I think, it depends whether you're on birth control as well. Like, I
Mhm.
remember really tracking my cycle and feeling really anxious about it because I would have white trousers on or like things when I was at school that I would never really be anxious about now because if I bleed, like whatever, like it's just part of I'm more confident as a 30-year-old than I was, several years ago when maybe I was talking about this. But I think this is the thing, bodies change and adapt. And especially if you're doing fertility like me and Bob's are, like I'm going to have heavier periods. I'm not going to be the same weight as I am that I was like 10 years ago. It's just, we all change and like who cares? Like it's our own experience.
It's like, it's not that serious.
Yeah.
It's not that deep. So yeah, I was just curious to hear how you deal with it and like
Yeah.
what your experience is. So thank you for being candid and
Thank you so
for
much.
answering that question. Now, we started this conversation by asking, who is Lucy Edwards? And now I want to end it by asking, what is it really like to be Lucy Edwards?
Fun, happy, bubbly, lots of honeys, lots of lovelies on the end of sentences.
Accurate.
Lots of walks in the park with guide dog Miss Molly, lots of happy times with my gorgeous husband, and a fertility journey coming soon. Thanks for having me, babe.
Yay! Little baby Etia
Yes.
to come. That would honestly be such a pretty middle name if you had a girl.
Oh my God, iconic.
That would be so adorable. Putting it out there now.
So cute, manifesting.
Well, thank you for being on the show. This was just such a fun, girly chat. I really appreciate it. Make sure you are following the What It's Really Like podcast here on YouTube and over on Spotify. It really helps me out. We are completely self-funding this show right now. So your support of the show really helps. And now you know what it's really like. Bye.
Bye.